And welcome back in. The Ogle family, such a big part of the community and part of our show. Parkside Cabin Rentals, Scramble Jake's Breakfast Company, Oakmont Station. The Ogle family extend their happiest holiday and Christmas wishes to you and yours this holiday season. We appreciate them for being a part of the Sports Source every year. All right, back with Ryan Callahan here at the desk. We're going to talk about transfer portal and Tennessee's transfer strategy in a second. But first, Will West is over at the YP board. We're going to be using this board all day. Don't worry at home. You don't have to read all those names. Will did that. That's 34 players that arrived during the transfer portal since the portal opened in 2019. That's based on 24/7 Sports listing. So if you look on there and go, that guy's a walk-on, and where's this guy? It ain't perfect. But the point is, how many guys, I asked him, how many impact players has Tennessee gotten out of the portal? Will, go ahead and tell us, how did you define an impact player and how many did you find?
Here's how I defined an impact player. Were you better than the person that you would have replaced had Tennessee just brought in a 3 or 4 star player? Or did you come in and make an immediate impact on the roster? So as I'm going through this, some guys are pretty easy. Bayless Jones, no brainer, right? Cade Mays, no brainer. Kamal Hadden, he did eventually come along, especially this year before he got injured. Hendon Hooker, you don't have to think about it. Chase McGrath was fantastic. Joe Milton maybe underperformed a little bit this year, but he still made an impact on the team. Then I go down to, honestly, I've got Brew McCoy. That's a no-brainer. Gerald Mincey was a big impact player last year, even though he didn't make a huge impact this year. And then, honestly, I have 10 players total that I think were better than who they would have replaced on Tennessee's roster when they came in from the transfer portal. 2 of them are kickers, guys. Okay. So 8 rotational players, 2 kickers, that's about all they had.
Very good. Will West, thank you very much. We'll have you back in the show a little bit later. Ryan, let's talk about this. First of all, let's go ahead and put up the Tennessee portal just so people can see it in front of them right here. 4 guys coming in, unless something's changed this morning. Did anything change this morning?
Not this
morning.
Morning.
4 guys coming in, a corner, a safety, who may be a nickelback, a receiver, and a tight end, and then 11 guys going. But let me start with the defensive backs because you got 7 guys out, 2 guys in. You just did well in the actual high school class. But my question is, I understand that it's the case everywhere that people are losing more than they're gaining, but with that area, you're losing so many. Was that part of the plan? Because you keep hearing people saying, well, anybody who goes, they ran them off. They didn't want them. I can't imagine they wanted to get rid of 7 defensive backs.
I don't think that was the plan, but you do have to prioritize different things, and NIL especially. And so what happens is a lot of these seniors, and Tennessee has a bunch of seniors that had the option of coming back next year. A lot of them come in saying, if I'm going to pass up a chance to make an NFL roster, I need more money to do it. Or if I'm going to not go in the transfer portal, I need more money to do it. Well, some of them, you make your priorities and you decide which guys do we have to keep. That's, in some cases, that's the guys who never entered the portal. That's James Pierce. Yeah. That's Dylan Sampson, players you had to make sure stayed here for next season, for the next 2 years in some cases. Well, those guys stay. Other guys maybe don't get what they asked for. They kind of call Tennessee's bluff, enter the portal. That's what happened, I think, with some of the older guys in the secondary, like Danico Slaughter, like Tamarian McDonald. They didn't plan to lose those guys. They just decided to take their chances in the portal, and they end up at other SEC schools, Ole Miss for McDonald and Arkansas for Slaughter. So you got to make your choices. Tennessee chose to take their chances with those guys, and you end up with a whole new starting secondary.
You're not seeing Tennessee go out and make huge splashes in the transfer portal. I think a lot of people expected that. You're seeing Lane Kiffin's the transfer portal king, going and getting 2 guys off this Tennessee roster, including Tyler Barron. Talk to me about why that is. It could be they've spent all their money already. They don't have that much more money to go out. Or it could be we're just choosing not to spend. And if that's the case, why?
It's a little bit of a few different things. I'll start with Tennessee does value culture a lot more when it comes to looking at options in the transfer portal. You don't always know what you're getting in terms of culture. Some of the guys on that list that we just looked at, a good example of that, Juwan Mitchell, guys like that, they weren't necessarily great culture fits. You had to take a position or a player at a certain position, and they did the best they could. So sometimes you have to force it. Other times you hear something about a guy, he's a weird locker room fit. And sometimes, of course, for the right player, you'd overlook it, but sometimes you don't. Sometimes you say, we're not going after that guy. I don't think he's a fit for us. I knew him out of high school. He's not what we're looking for. So they do look over certain players and not choose to pursue them. And then sometimes it's just because guys aren't interested or they know it's all about money. They're looking for the highest bidder. You're not always the highest bidder. So it's a combination of money, choosing to not go for certain guys culturally, and in some cases just guys wanting to go to certain types of programs. Some guys want to go to Alabama or Georgia.
Right, sure. I'll never bash a coaching staff that decides they want to take culture into consideration. We've spent too many times over the years talking about coaches here who, the walk-on gets benched for 3 games, the starter is suspended for a quarter for the same incident. Derek Dooley with Jansen Jackson. On and on. Some of these guys just don't care what the culture is. So I'm not going to cut into these guys for having culture top of mind, but you better win if you do that.
Yep.
I mean, you better take care of things. My question also, I've got another one that ties into the people they put on the field. They seem to like veterans more than youngsters. They seem to like guys they can trust more than guys who maybe have a little bit more upside, but could also screw up a little bit more. Is that fair? Why is that? And do you think they'll ever hit the point where they feel the need to readjust their thinking?
I think this year will tell us a lot. I think because they've made an assessment, and that secondary, what happened with the secondary is a good example. They've got some talented young guys waiting in the wings, ready to take over those positions. Will they go to the transfer portal and put guys in their way? Because they've already added Jermod McCoy, who is likely a starting corner. Jacoby Thomas at safety will probably be a starter or have a good chance. So you've got a couple guys there that might block some of those younger guys. Will you bring in another corner and make it tough for Ricky Gibson, Jordan Matthews, Christian Conyer to get on the field? Will they bring in another receiver to go along with Brazel to maybe make it tough for Mike Matthews to get on the field as a true freshman? This year I think will tell us a lot more because previously they had a weird roster, a lot of veterans. Now it's normalizing a little bit. Let's see what they do with young guys.
Very good, Ryan. I appreciate it. All right. When we come back, we're going to we got Citrus Bowl stuff to come up, but we're going to start getting the big picture. We're through with the recruiting and the transfer portal stuff. Next, 4 questions about UT football, all with a special little holiday theme, holiday twist. Come on back on the Sports Source for a little more holiday fun. Make merry with us. Come on back.